Hey Pete.
Hey Pete.
Hey Pete.
Hey Pete.
60 seconds is not enough time to talk about what she meant to me at all.
But that's okay because
It's the little things that count in the end.
One of my favorite memories of Pete was singing with him at a Very Liberty Christmas in freshman year. And we did Baby It's Cold Outside. And we literally threw that song together in like 4 minutes.
One time where the entire Liberty group was all getting ready to go out for the night, and Pete wasn't around. So someone was like, "Hey, where's Pete? Go get him." So I went and knocked on his door, and he comes out, and he's all like bedraggled looking. He looks like he's like nowhere near ready to go out. I'm like, "Pete, come on, it's time to go. Everybody's waiting for you." And he's like, "Oh no, I'm not going tonight." "Pete, why not? Come on, everybody's ready." It's like, no, I'm gonna watch some math proofs tonight.
You were out with everyone, but decided to come back early. So I found you. You were in your room by yourself, blasting music, like you normally did, except this time your hair was dyed bright red and your face was painted silver. And you ended up spending time with me and Dave, helping us break into people's rooms. We wanted to play a video game and we needed your help to break into the rooms.
this time I came upstairs and you were watching some Eddie Izzard special in your room and sat down and watched for a little bit with you, and you remembered some bit you wanted me to watch.
I miss waking up in the morning and going to your door and you're just listening to Mozart and all the other doors in the hallway are closed, but you're up, you're just in your PJs listening to classical music.
Right there in that moment, that's who you were, Pete.
I was able to just sit down and, we both kind of enjoy it and tune in.
I think my favorite memory of Pete is when we were in a vocal jazz rehearsal, and it was one of the first ones that I had been to as a new member, and singing the Star Spangled Banner, we were practicing and we got to the last chord and we were so in tune that an overtone popped out, this really high note above the chord we were singing because we were so perfectly in tune, and it was so loud and so pure that Pete's mouth just dropped wide open.
He had this thing where whenever he'd hit a low note, he would kind of put his hands out and turn his head and like smile. I don't know if he smiled because he was loving the groove or because that's just what happened when you sing a note that low, but anyone that saw him will probably know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to do it, and I'm going to look really stupid, but he looks really cool. And it was a little something like this. Wah! And that was terrible, but he did it really well.
And this drop of drool just came right out of his mouth on top of the table, and we immediately just burst out laughing.
I don't think we even really ever officially auditioned him.
We thought it was the coolest thing how we were both interested in doing these musical performance and a cappella groups, yet we were both so interested in math and science and technology. It was so contradictory, but we thought it was the coolest thing.
I lived across the hall from Pete for all of sophomore year.
You'd either have him, sitting there quietly and, you could enjoy his company and, wander across and have a conversation, watch whatever's watching for a while, talk about anything. But on the other hand,
He had these giant speakers in his room that he brought, and randomly he would just blast techno music like Skrillex or something.
The walls and the door handles and the windows were all rattling because Pete was blasting Deadmau5.
And everyone would just come out of their rooms and start dancing in the hallway and going nuts.
I've been woken up far too prematurely, far too many times by those speakers.
There's no music in the hallway. No one is responsible. The RAs are awful.
Early in our freshman year, Pete and I were on our way to Dutch and walked past my room and noticed that my door was open and that our friends Colin and Emily had fallen asleep. And of course, this Pete thought was the opportune moment to play a prank, and saw this banana sitting on our fridge and wanted to place it between them in hopes they would roll over and sort of smush it, which didn't actually end up happening. They just sort of woke up confused with this piece of fruit. But
You came to me because I had a car and you really needed to go to the grocery shopping or something. I don't even remember. But I needed to buy condoms, and I was like, I guess I can take you. So we got down to the grocery store, and I had my item, and then you felt that the only thing you actually needed at the grocery store was hot sauce, and you felt the need to hold my hand as we went through the checkout counter. And from that moment on, I knew that we were going to be great friends. Because not many people I knew, at least, would have just the courage or the audacity even just to do something that bold, like to someone you just met.
It was the beginning of freshman year. None of the sophomores had arrived yet. It was just the freshmen. It was actually the first day. And we were playing icebreaker games. This was before I knew anybody, and everyone was a new face. And I saw the most intriguing fellow there was this big tall guy who had wearing a black shirt, fancy shades, and these cool plaid pants. And one round I ended up standing next to him, and the person who was it said, "Okay, I'm a girl." And all the girls stepped forward, and then I feel a hand behind me push me into the circle. And then, of course, everyone switches places, and I end up being the person who lost the round of being a girl. And I look back at Pete, and I glare at him, knowing that he was the one who pushed me in the center. And I said, "We're gonna be friends, aren't we?"
The memories of Pete that mean the most to me always happened on normal days. He always used to catch me and cheer me up when I was having a bad day, and a lot of the times I'd be walking somewhere on campus and someone would just kind of walk up to me and creep up next to me, and I wasn't sure who it was, so I wouldn't look, and they'd stay there for a really long time, and then I'd finally look up and it'd be Pete with his smiling face looking down at me, and it was just someone to walk with, someone who always cheered me up on those down days. And
him and I used to walk to rehearsal every time, walk to and from, and in the community we had at Liberty Hall, it was great. You saw everyone, but it was kind of rare that you had a good one-on-one time with one person, and that was really that time for me and him.
I was lucky enough to be the last person to get to see him and spend time with him. We went to an open mic night, and while I was too scared to perform, Pete of course wasn't, and went right up there and sung and played piano, and he did an amazing job, and everyone in the place just fell in love with him. And the last song that he sung was Fix You by Coldplay, because he knows that it's my favorite song, and he had apparently been practicing it just to play it for me.
You were the only reason I went to class. I was probably the only reason you went to class. And you would tell me when I shouldn't take notes because our professor had no idea what the hell she was talking about.
I mean, every time I buy the alcohol in the first place, I have to go into my wallet every time I go out. See the big green, which is just a little bit too tall for my wallet, so.
My favorite memory of Pete would probably have to be when we were kids and there was nothing to do inside. We were completely bored. No game, no coloring book, no Lego, no anything could keep us involved for even a minute. What we would do is we would take over the family room, we would steal one of Mom and Dad's sheets, and we would steal all the chairs and all the clothespins in the house, and we'd build a big fort. And then we would pack little lunches like we were going camping, even though we were just in the family room, and we would play games, and we would read, and we would just spend all day there.
It started with us having 8 a.m. calculus 4 days a week for semester freshman year, and it ended with us playing in a field and flying kites.
It's been tough without you, obviously, because you were always just someone that we all were able to get along with no matter what.
And I look back on this and I think about what makes it stick with me. And I think the reason is that it shows how you could be so unique and so outgoing with your hair dyed red and your face painted silver, but at the same time, so introspective. You didn't mind spending time on your own. And that's what made you really special to me.
I just thought it was pretty awesome that his version of a good time for a night was to sit at home and watch math proofs.
All Pete needed was a spark to get his gears turning and to be like, yeah, we'll do this, and we'll do this, we'll do that, and then it'll be like this, and it'll be like that. And it's that kind of creative energy that like defined Pete.
We basically were becoming more and more of a friend that I looked up to, that I respected, that I really looked forward to seeing.
It was just some of the best memories I'll have.
Always wanting to share something with someone, share a laugh, share a smile.
He was an awesome musical director, an awesome friend, and an awesome man.
The life he brought to the hallway, and we'll all miss him for that.
But I missed it. I missed it because I missed Pete, obviously.
So 2015, Star Wars Episode 7. I expect you to be in full blue ghosty form at the theater with me that day. Miss you, man.
Every time someone walks next to me like that, I kind of hope I'm gonna look up and see him again.
I miss him. I miss him a lot.
I'm really gonna miss him.
Miss you, bud.
I miss you.
I really miss you, Pete.
I miss you, Pete.
I miss you though, man. Talk to you again soon.
I miss you. Love you so much.
Really gonna miss you, buddy.
So that is one of my favorite memories of Pete, and one that I'll definitely carry with me forever.